Hey everybody, I'm your host Greenhavak, and this is Good Game, Well Played.
Justice reigns from above.
No one can hide from my sight.
Cheers, love! The cavalry's here!
And welcome to GG Well Played. And yeah, we have a full panel with us. We have almost all of our analysts. So let's introduce some of them, because you might recognize some of the faces, but some of them have been off screen. So directly to my left, we have NASKAB, who is our Boston Uprising and Houston Outlaws analyst. To the left of him, we have Cynize, who is the Dallas Fuel and LA Gladiator analyst. And at the other end of the table, we have BUSHIDO Viking, who focuses on the Seoul Dynasty and the LA Valiant. I myself cover the San Francisco Shock and the London Spitfire Aces High. Of course, off camera, we have Oh Hey It's Derek, who is the New York Excelsior and Philadelphia Fusion. I feel like the Philadelphia Fusion's a little bit of a Stockholm syndrome for him.
We stuck him with that one.
Exactly.
Just to spite him.
And currently the Dragons and the Mayhem remain kind of a group project as well. They're group projects for their teams as they rebuild. So today, though, we're going to be focusing on the Dallas Fuel. So I'm going to go ahead and hand it on over to you, Cynize, for kind of a wrap-up of what we just saw this week and your opinions on it.
Whew. I mean, what we saw was trash. Sorry. Sorry, I mean, no. Great team, but they need to get their foundation and the switching out, their flexibility, they need to get that back.
Okay.
They need to get these players in there. They need to understand what they're capable of and what the best comps and fusions for these players, what works best. I mean, this week they versed two of the top best teams in the league. So, I mean, that's kind of...
Which two teams were that? Were they?
I mean... Soul and Valiant, but I mean, come on. All right.
Just making sure.
This guy. But no, I mean, but they have the potential to challenge them at least to possibly win a couple more than one game each match. So the first week they looked amazing. They put Rascal in there a little bit more. You know, they were playing pretty well with Effect and Rascal. But this week they stumbled a lot more. They didn't switch out their players. They didn't switch out to the characters that are the heroes that they're really good with, and they know. They didn't support their backline enough. They let the flankers just completely tear them apart. I think Soon killed AKM, who was on his team, so I think he's just kind of getting him a little gut punches there every now and then.
And even Fate on Winston.
Right, seriously. They just tore up the backline like crazy. So they need to be able to figure out what works best for each person, which hero they're good with, and figure out a meta or a strategy that will support them.
Okay. So I remember you telling me off air about some potential behind-the-scenes issues in a tweet.
Yes.
So care to clarify on that?
Yeah, sure. So the coach basically tweeted out saying basically it's in rebuttal to the fans kind of being like, y'all sucked, what are you doing, why aren't you switching out these players, you know, why aren't we seeing Seagull, why aren't we seeing Rascal, what's going on? Because they just didn't use the subs as they should, and the coach was like, y'all don't know what's going on in the background, there's a little bit more to the story, so kind of lay off a bit, right? And so that kind of makes me realize that there might be politics going on in the back end. Who's calling these strategies? Who's calling these subs? That's going over the coach's head, if that is actually happening. Okay. Or is the coach, I think Kiki or KYKY, something like that.
Pronounce it, yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
So I don't know if he's failing as a coach or if someone's going above him or making him make these decisions. So it's going to be interesting if they're leaving him there to do what he's actually, his job is to do, or if he's just making those bad decisions. I really think some politics are involved and something's going on with all of this happening.
Okay. I could see that because they just don't for the roster that they have, they should look incredibly flexible.
Oh yeah.
And they just don't quite look that flexible. I want to throw up a graph real quick on the screen comparing their performances against the Seoul Dynasty and the LA Valiant from Stage 1 compared to their performances in Stage 2. So when you look at the comparison, we saw a 3-0 from the Valiant in Stage 1. We saw a 2-1 for the Seoul Dynasty in Stage 1, compared to 2 3-1s now in Stage 2. So I want to go down this panel and ask, were you more impressed with the Dallas we saw in Stage 1, or are you looking forward to, I guess, what we could see more of in Stage 2? So let's start with you, NASKAB. Stage 1 or Stage 2?
I think I'm going to have to say Stage 2, just because Seoul and Valiant didn't really have their lineup set up yet.
Okay.
So I feel like now, getting those maps off now is like way better, just because they have more secure lineups, and Dallas still seems to be playing around with their players a little bit, seeing who they want to run. Like, they picked up 2 new DPS. They're still trying to maybe figure out like what DPS they want to run. So I feel like even though they lost both these games, they still show some signs of being a top team. Very close.
Okay. I have a point to go on that, but I will save my peanut gallery till the end. What about you, Cynize?
So in Stage 1, I feel like they're new to the league. They're trying to get better. They're trying to figure everything out. However, I feel like they had their foundation down. I feel like they had the players where they were supposed to be. They were playing to the best of their ability, and they tied a map and won a map against Seoul, tied a map against Valiant in the first stage.
Okay.
Second stage, they only won 1 map for both teams. Increase against the Valiant. Good job. Well done. However, I feel like because they added these new players, technically, with their potential, they should be doing better.
Okay.
But they aren't. It's because the Stage 1 foundation for the team was better than their Stage 2. Now, the potential is greater in Stage 2 for this team.
All right.
But they aren't showing that yet. So I feel like Stage 1 Fuel can beat Stage 2 Fuel right now at this moment.
Okay. I like that. I like that opinion. What about you, Bushido Viking?
Honestly, Dallas Fuel is one of those teams that really is just shocking to everyone, because when we first came into the Overwatch League and we looked at how the teams were stacked to each other, I'm sure any analyst who was looking at that was like, oh, well, Dallas Fuel is going to be one of the best teams in the league. And on paper, they should be. But when we look at it in game, there's so many variables and so many factors, such as communication, team leading, tilting. I would put Dallas Fuel as one of the top teams at tilting. Like, I mean, they're top tier at that, right? Because when we listen to them inside the box, you know, you hear, oh, we're losing, we got a group, or, you know, we're doing this. They're not talking about, all right, you know, let it go, guys. You know, just regroup. We got our ultimates, you know. You got to throw in those positive things, too, when you're doing that. Like, okay, well, we just burnt 3 ults. We got wiped, but, you know, we got the ult advantage now.
Yeah, that communication's actually a good point, because when you listen to the Fusion's communication, even with the language barriers and the fact that you have players repeating certain things in different languages to catch another player up.
Absolutely.
Somehow their communication is still more useful and more valuable than a lot of what we're hearing out of the Dallas Fuel.
Right.
So
Yeah,
I think communication's a big one.
That's my biggest thing. But as far as, you know, Stage 1, Stage 2, with Seoul, you know, that was like the first match. I mean, everyone was getting their nerves, and, you know, get out. You know, everyone was, you know, high five in the stadium. You know, you're acclimating to a new environment. Now in Stage 2, when we look at the teams, Dallas Fuel still hasn't even improved in that way. It seems like they've almost... So yeah, they actually look worse now than they did in Stage 1, and when you have so many all-stars such as that team, it's just really disappointing. And when you're not running Seagull and you're not running Rascal, it makes no sense when you pick up a player of that caliber.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and say maybe a triggering statement. But of every team in the Overwatch League, I think I am the most disappointed with Dallas Fuel. And I
think true Dallas Fuel fans would agree with that statement.
Yeah, I think so.
And I think
I don't want to.
Not obviously not in the rankings, But in comparison to what they should be playing at, I think Dallas Fuel is the worst team in the league.
Wow.
Because
Comparison to the difference
in
in-
comparison
The
to themselves.
expectations.
Yeah.
I mean, when you look at the Dragons, you're not thinking, "Oh, look at this roster that's going to go get wins."
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
You know?
I was like,
when you look at the when you look at the Shock, you go, "Oh, yeah, I mean, they've got some parts and they've got some parts coming in, but I don't expect them to win right now."
They're playing at the level that they're supposed to be playing
Exactly.
at. Yeah.
Dallas.
I would. I'd actually argue against that, but
Well, I'm not saying that the Shock
for it.
are I'm not saying the Shock are playing where they should be. I think they are underperforming a little bit, but they're clearly waiting on some extra players.
they're waiting on pieces. I
Yeah.
feel you.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. No, I'm just the players that Shock has. I think they do a pretty good job.
Oh, yeah.
They should be running IDQQ a bit more, but that'd be my
Yeah,
take.
I
Really
feel like a lot of people are saying the same thing. So
Yeah.
I mean, the same thing with Siegel though. Is You see the same exact thing. It's like he's been one of the biggest streamers since the game started. Why aren't you running him?
Yeah.
He's a great player.
That's an interesting, just for the entire league, this is the first season, and we're seeing so many coaching mistakes. I mean, in regular sports, in other esports, their coaching is on point because they've been doing it for a long time. They know what's going on, but I think
The
because
league's
this is a
been
new
established.
game, exactly.
Sure.
So they
You know what works.
understand exactly. They understand how to coach, what to do. I mean, it's like a meta for coaching, I guess.
Yeah.
And so I think we're still figuring out, and a lot of these teams are failing in the coaching area.
one team I actually want to highlight as or three teams. I'm going to give three teams credit here.
Sure.
Right.
Three teams credit. I think three of the teams that that have shown the best level of coaching are Seoul Dynasty,
Yeah.
Yep.
London Spitfire,
course.
and the Philadelphia Fusion.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
the Philadelphia Fusion have the most reverse sweeps in the league.
Well, that can't be underestimated and that can't be understated. When that happens, the reverse sweeps. They went back, they looked at what happened, and they said, "This is what we need to improve on," and they came and did it.
Yeah.
And I think that kind of commitment is what's going to get you far in this league.
Absolutely. And there was I follow one of the coaches of the Philadelphia Fusion on Twitter, and he was posting out kind of a little taste of what they were talking about in their Outlaws game, and it had nothing to do with Overwatch. It was the entire talk that they had was about like understanding who you are, playing to the level you can play, relax, you're pros, you deserve to be here, own it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like it.
And understanding that there's
Positive
more
reinforcement.
exactly, and understanding that there's more to being at this level than just being able to click on the head.
Sure.
So I want to give the shout out to the Fusion for that, and then obviously with London and Seoul, you see their rosters change constantly. You see pieces move. You see a different look every week.
Yeah.
I mean,
The key word for these teams would be adaptation.
and just so I mean they deserve a big shout out as far as that goes. But that is our time for this topic. So let's go ahead and move on over to my segment of the show. So maybe I'm a little biased, but the narrative of the week. All right, guys, the narrative of the week is pretty simple. What I want to be focusing on is the players we haven't seen. Where's IDDQD? Where's Siegel? Gagori? Fact fiction. We have so many players who have been signed. Say a player, awesome guy, that I'm excited to see. I want to know what they're going to do to the league. What are these players? How are they going to change the way the teams play? Still, we're still waiting to see Sinatra, who hasn't turned 18 yet, so we'll probably see him in Stage 3 for the San Francisco Shock. There's just so many moving parts that could have huge impacts. And for me, I think the biggest one is going to be for the Dragons and for the Shock. Maybe the Mayhem, but we'll get to them in a second. So for the Dragons, they have a few new players. Now, I'm not too familiar with the tank and DPS players they picked up, but Gagori, the legendary Zarya player, is absolutely going to make a huge impact on the Dragons moving forward, especially with Reinhardt-Zarya combos being a strategy that can be run on quite a few maps in Stage 2. So that is going to be exciting. Can the Dragons put together a form while still in Stage 2 to get some wins going? Over to the San Francisco Shock. San Francisco Shock have Sinatra, who has been heralded as one of the best Tracer players. Now, I know, that's huge shoes to fill. We have so many big Tracer players. We have Soon, Saviolbi, Carpe, Striker, Prophet. I mean, so many Tracer players that are stepping up in gigantic ways and constantly dethroning each other for best Tracer of the week. So where does Sinatra fit into all of that? I guess only time will tell, but that is incredibly exciting. And especially for the San Francisco Shock with the fact that Dante has been playing on a level comparable to the other top Tracers. So for me, where does Sinatra fit into the roster? Does it change up the way they play? Who knows? I guess we'll find out, and I'm excited to find out. The missing players are, where is IDD Cutie and where did Seagull go? We're missing streamers, folks, and I don't know where they went. There's been some tweets about some issues in the back room, so kind of behind the scene stuff, whether it's just not feeling good, just not, ready, just not fitting into the roster yet. It's just not quite there yet in the cards for them to use them. So I guess we'll have to wait until either more is said on the matter or till I guess we see them. A couple of the other players we haven't seen yet. We haven't seen Mendo or Fact Fiction for the Houston Outlaws. So that's going to be interesting when we start to see those players, because the Houston Outlaws had kind of a set roster as it is, with the only person kind of dotting in a little bit was Clockwork, but he even got pulled after some poor performances throughout Stage 1. So where to Fact Fiction, Clockwork, and Mendo? Again, only time will tell. The big name that we will not be seeing in Stage 1, which is a little unfortunate, is Flower for the New York Excelsior. Now, Flower is just a tremendous player. We saw him in the Overwatch World Cup just basically carry South Korea to another title. Insane Widow. And again, that's saying something because we have so many insane Widows in the Overwatch League. We have Baby Bay. We have Fleta. We have Birdring. So many top tier Widows. So where does he fit in? That to me is super, super exciting. The big thing that's going to be, it's going to be the real measure of a team is when they start to get new players. How do they get the new players started? How do they get the new players going? And how do they not disrupt whatever momentum or rotation that they already have on their team? So the narrative, if you will, is roster reloads and not misfiring. Anyway, guys, this has been the narrative of the week. Let's get back to the show. And that is the narrative for the week. Yeah, just I really wanted to focus on some of the roster reloads and some of the players that we still haven't seen yet. IDD Cutie, Where's Seagull? We have Gaguri coming in for the Dragons, and just a bunch of the other players that we still haven't quite seen in the Overwatch League, whether it's visa issues or, just not turning 18 yet. So I have to say I'm most excited for Sinatra. Is there a player you guys are super excited for? Because for me, it's Sinatra.
It's about the team, the Dragons, getting new blood into the system, seeing if that'll actually make a change to what they're doing. I mean, I really hope that it really does get them a win eventually. That's what I'm excited about. Them possibly getting a win with this new blood coming in.
Yeah, same for me. Actually, exactly what Cynize said. I just want to see the Shanghai Dragons actually be a team that is giving us something to watch.
Yeah.
Okay. I like that, and there's just so many players, though. I honestly, I feel like
it's the resurgence.
Exactly. And I feel like with the players we already have, and some of the players that are looking to be in Stage 3, I feel like Stage 3 is going to be Christmas.
Okay.
It's just it's going to be like,
well, it's going to be fresh.
A new Overwatch League.
Yeah,
sure.
Absolutely, it's going to be fresh, and I hope they make the changes that are necessary to give us that. When you're focusing on rebuilding and such, or when you're getting big trades, like Dallas Fuel getting one of London Spitfire's members, and then you're not playing him. I hope they make those changes we were talking about earlier.
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah. No, I'm very excited for the league moving forward. But you know what time it is? It is, in fact, time to hear a play breakdown.
That's right. I mean, we've been focusing on the Dallas Fuel a lot, so let's keep it rolling. Maybe it's not the best, for the Dallas Fuel on this breakdown, but, it's something to look at.
Ooh, so we're getting a what not to do breakdown.
That's right.
I'm excited. Let's get on into it.
Hey guys, this is Cynize here. Welcome to the Play Breakdown. Today we're going to visit Hanamura. And the teams, we're doing Valiant versus the Dallas Fuel. Now we've kind of been going over the Dallas Fuel, their shortcomings, how much they're kind of, hurting themselves a little bit. And we're going to go into exactly how and why they did so. We're going to break down their approach, try to fix it. We're going to break down what the other team is doing. And I'm just going to show you what not to do on a Hanamura attack on the second point. So let's get into it. Alright guys, let's go right into it. They just got the point. They're going to go ahead and the Fuel are going to be attacking the second point with their entire team on Hanamura. Now the Los Angeles Valiant, they lost the first point so quickly. It was I was expecting this game to go fast and furious. They have 7 minutes, 7 complete minutes to take this second point, the Fuel does. Now on this attack, you see that Effect kind of gets taken out, he gets rezzed, all that stuff, wonderful. It's fine, they're set up. And look at this, Winston's going up there, they're setting up for the right up top attack on Hanamura second point. They're getting ready. Valiant sees this and goes ahead and sets up for this, They're getting ready to go ahead and defend it. And this is a valid approach. This is great, wonderful. However, time and time again, the Fuel attack, and it's just water against cliffs, water against the rocks. They wipe every single time. And what do the Fuel do? They go to that top right every single time. They are not flexible. They are not changing up their strategies. They're not attacking in different locations, maybe changing heroes. They stick with the same heroes. It's not working out for them, and they don't change. From the very beginning, in this situation, they're going against Valiant, who is a top tier dive team and who has one of the best tracers on their team. What does Tracer do? Tracer flanks. So why, in the first place, are they playing AKM, who is one of the best soldiers, but he isn't an anti-flank hero? Soon, on every single attack here, has his ult. Soon goes ahead and does the grenade almost every single time, killing 1 to 2 people. He just obliterates their flanks. The Zenyatta, the soldier, Mercy, they get taken out every single time by Soon or Winston, right? And every single time, Fuel does the same exact thing. They go to the right, they go to the top. They do not change their heroes. That, my friends, is an issue. If you're not going into this game knowing what the team that you're playing against is strong with and countering that, that's an issue. If you keep doing the same thing over and over again, that's an issue. You need to be able to be flexible, adapt, and change. They had 7 minutes to take this point. They did not get 1 tick on this map. It's absolutely ridiculous. And Valiant, they stuck with what was working. They didn't have to change. They were getting the kills they needed with Tracer, with Winston. They did absolutely fantastic. So, top points, be flexible. Don't keep doing the same strategy over and over again. And you just gotta make sure you're picking the right players, picking the right heroes in order to take on this situation. Hanamura, the second point, is a difficult point to take. The spawn is right there, but we've seen this in Volskaya Industries. We've seen this in other maps where it's just right there. We have Route 66, it's a new map that we've been playing, and we've been seeing it work out. People are able to get the second point if they dive, if they make sure they take out and stagger the team. But if they can't get to the point, if they can't get those kills, if they keep on dying, it will never happen. So that's my play breakdown. If you guys want to go ahead and make sure you want to play soldier, that's fine. But you got to get on that point. You got to dive in there. You can't be flanked. If you want to stop a flanking team without an anti-flanker character, dive on the point. Get on there. Make sure you're surrounded. Play a dive comp that is supposed to be surrounded. That's supposed to create chaos. If order doesn't work, create chaos. If chaos isn't working, go in with order. Got to switch it up. And that's my plague breakdown of the Dallas Fuel attacking the second point on Hanamura against the Valiant. And that's what not to do at Hanamura when you have 7 minutes.
What a throw.
For me, I was counting the seconds it took Soon to get those pulse bombs. I felt like he was just getting, it was pulse bomb. Oh, by the way, pulse bomb.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, pulse bomb.
Every major attack he had one to dish out.
That's what a good tracer can do. I mean, when you have tanks that you're hitting with tracer, she just refill, and you're just like you'll watch the ult like it's like watching Roadhog like heal, and you just see the wheel like go up. It's like the same thing.
So it's fair.
Fair. So yeah, it was absolutely horrendous, but hopefully they learned from it. Yeah.
So one might say that they didn't learn to adapt, and one might say they felt probably tilted by this. So for our tip of the week, I actually want to go into tilting, the effects it has, and how to prevent that for just the normal players like us.
Okay.
All right.
Well, I'm really excited, and you know what? Maybe Dallas Fuel should to listen to not tilt. Let's get on into it.
So I want to talk about tilting actually for my tip of the week. Tilting is something that affects us all in every single game that we play, actually, anything that's competitive anyways. So tilting is basically, when you're playing a few matches or whatever, you feel like you should be doing better. It's just the act of really getting frustrated, and that can take a toll on any team or even yourself. So what I would recommend is after about 2 matches or so, they didn't go as well, even if they were close. If you did, in fact, lose them, then I would recommend that you actually do not continue playing. You take a step back, go get a drink of water, or any other beverage. I wouldn't recommend alcohol, but if that's how you relax, go ahead. Or go for a walk. What I usually do is I go for about a 15-minute walk just outside around the neighborhood, get a breath of fresh air, get a little perspective, and then I come back and I try again. And that's what I would recommend to how to handle this. Also, just staying calm on your voice chat. Don't let your team know how frustrated you actually are. You can just be on push to talk, and you can just be venting if you need to yourself or to anyone in Discord, even your own teammates maybe if you all are on Discord together. And then always keep it calm and always keep it professional. See what you can do, how to help your team, because a little positivity from you could actually help your team and turn that around and prevent other team members from tilting. So that's what I would recommend as my tip of the week. And have a good one.
Okay, I like that though. I like that, not tilting, keeping a calm mind. I'm not gonna say I'm above tilting. I do my best though.
Sure.
Well, it happens to us all.
Yeah.
One of the things I will say helps me, and I'm sure NASKAB doesn't enjoy it too much, is I'm usually on Discord with him, so I just yell at him about who I'm tilted at,
Yep.
and then I hit my push to talk in game, and I'm like, guys, I don't know if this is really working, so let's just work together as a team. And then it comes off, and I'm like, oh, I'm so upset.
Yep. No, I mean I'm the same way. Just what I show is completely different from what I'm saying in Discord. 100%.
But moving into our final segment of the show, we of course have our power rankings. I'm going to go through everyone's power rankings real quick of what we've submitted either today or earlier in the week. And if you submitted early in the week, you know what, you're bold. I got to say, you know what, I'm not going to name any names. Should be
reserved for another show that we make some guesses on.
For myself, I have NYXL at the top, followed by the Spitfire, Dynasty, the Outlaws, then the Fusion. For Cynize, it was Dynasty, NYXL, Spitfire, Fusion, Outlaws. And then over for BUSHIDO Viking, it was Dynasty, Spitfire, NYXL, Valiant, and then the Outlaws. So I gotta go ahead and just say this right off the bat. Dynasty number 1. Are we that happy with what we've seen from Dynasty?
In the stage 2, they're coming in strong. I mean, Fleta is coming to each of these matches to play. I mean, it's they're really showing what they should have been showing the entire stage 1, just in the beginning of stage 2. They were great in stage 1. They kind of dipped in at the end there.
Right.
But still, they're back to where they're supposed to be.
And I think that's where they come in at the number 1 for me is, they were strong. And then I remember I was actually watching your show right before I came on, and you guys were like, whoa, like, what happened? Like, because they started to, like, dip. But now they got their second wind again, and they're back on top. And, yeah, absolutely.
See, for me, I'm going to go ahead and say exactly what I've said about Dallas. They're beating the teams that they beat. Who cares? they performed worse against the Gladiators this time, despite the fact that the Gladiators were a 4-0-able team. They didn't need to lose a map. They didn't.
Sure.
I like the Gladiators. That one's kind of like it hurts.
Well, I mean the way they played.
I get what you're saying.
There was a point in that game to where they had Soul. One player for Soul was up.
Yeah.
5 were up for the Gladiators. And yet somehow they didn't even get a tick.
Sure.
I mean, that to me just shows that they're still learning how to play behind Fissure in the offense. But so for me, I haven't seen anything that says Soul's the number 1 team. So that's my question to you. But now I'm going to pull Cynize over to my team.
Sorry.
Because
no.
I have to ask, Valiant coming into your top 5.
Absolutely.
Over the Fusion, who have looked, went 8-0 in week 1 and dropped
Sure.
Came back, got the reverse sweep against Outlaws. Sadly, sadly, not sadly, lost to the Spitfire. So why do you have the Valiant over the Fusion?
I think you just actually nailed it right there. I think you answered your own question. We look at Fusion and, that they did their strong 4-0s. But I think for me, if you're going to show me how impressive of a team you are, you need to show consistency. And Valiant always shows up. There's times where, like, if they take a loss or whatever, I'm just kind of like, okay, I can kind of see what happened here. But as far as what's most consistent, Fusion would not be on my list for what's consistent. Sometimes they show up and they just blow out, and you're like, where's this team been? Then we watched them go against the Spitfire, and we saw that they had, 5 ultimates, and they went in. Like, how do you lose that? Like, that is not a top 5 team to me. So that would be my rebuttal there.
I will say that is I think, the strongest thing we still see. I think the skill gap between the Korean and non-Korean teams has really starting to just been chewed through.
Sure.
But one thing for me that they still are so dominant in is how many times do you watch, Seoul Dynasty, New York, or Spitfires? They're on defense. They're on the receiving end. You're like, oh, here it comes. This other team's got 5 ultimates. They've got this in the bag. And then at the end of the fight, you're like, how did insert any one of those 3 teams win that fight?
Come out on top, yeah.
They had 1 ultimate versus 5. Like, what?
Yeah.
What?
Well, also, going back to Valiant real quick about that, the 7-minute hold.
Yeah.
I know it was against Fuel, but, we've talked about it. This was a big segment, is that Fuel is a good team, though. At the end of the day, they are a good team. I have to, because they have great players. They should be a good team, but they have good players. But, a 7-minute hold in this league, if it's not against, Mayhem or Dragons, and that's still a big thing.
Not a single tick.
Yeah, not a single tick on a 7-minute hold.
What I'm interested in is why Valiant didn't push Outlaws out and you put Fusion on that last bit there. Because of the loss against Fusion for the Outlaws, I feel like that kind of really jumped Fusion up there,
Yeah.
With that being said, I guess I could actually see that a bit more. With it. I guess I was just so disappointed with their performance against Spitfire that kind of just negated that. And I think it's the consistency, like I said. For me, my top 5 teams are always going to be what I see is consistent.
Yeah.
And Outlaws always show up. Valiant always shows up. Soul always shows up. Spitfire always shows up. You know what I'm saying? I'm just like, these are all teams that I'm just like, they're probably going to do good.
Playoff race.
Yeah.
Get taken to overtime by the Shock.
Shock came to play. So
yeah, no Shock. I will say, on the flip side, for that was the first time I think we saw Shock really play to the level that Shock could be playing at.
Exactly.
So I think ultimately being taken to overtime by a team performing isn't.
Right. Right.
Spitfire's lost to Boston, so.
I like the Boston boys.
Oh, the Boston, I like them too.
Yeah.
But they're a team that's they're definitely on and off. They're in that same category as Fusion. But so we've got some different opinions, but I feel like ultimately we're aligned at least in our top 3. We can all agree that
absolutely interchangeable.
Yep.
So
100%.
And I feel like those final 2 slots. I mean, you can put so many teams in there. Like,
especially at the early stage that we are in
Yeah.
right now. So yeah.
Well, it's exciting actually that we can do that. I mean, it's always exciting when you can have so many different opinions and all of us can be like, I can see where you're coming from. You know, it's not like mayhem. You know, at number 5, and everyone's like, why? Like, why? Like, unfortunately, that one hurts. But I mean, even with that being said, mayhem's getting wins. You know, they're getting the one, you know, the 1 points or something like that. But still, I mean, that's enough to kind of disrupt a bit of what's going on. It's enough for us to be like, all right, you know, you're starting to do something here.
And then it all goes away when they get 4-0'd by Uprising.
yeah. Which, I mean, honestly, I was happy about that. But
I was
no bias, but
I was happy about it for Boston because I wanted to see him turn it around. But it was just so odd for me with Mayhem.
Yeah.
3-1, almost take NYXL to overtime. 3-1, almost take Spitfire to overtime. And then just impotently 4-0'd by Boston.
That's why it's so rare for me to get a completely 4-0 in our Good Luck Have Funs. Just because, I mean, it's just, you never know who can take a map. You know, you never know that.
That's the thing about this league. But with also that being said, you know, we noticed that Mayhem actually did good against these top teams. What if they're actually just training really hard against specific counters to these top teams?
It's very, very potential. I mean, there's if it wouldn't be a bad strategy.
Absolutely. These are the top dogs. We're rebuilding. Let's get good against these best teams. Find a way to be able to handle that. And then, you know, just consistent rebuild. They just need to get some more people in there. They need to shake it up.
The other thing I could see is that they're focusing in on specific work, like team-oriented training, so that way when their new players get in, they can just pop into the role that they haven't been practicing. Like, this is now what you're going to do. We've been working on this. You do this.
Sure.
So, I mean, potential. But ultimately, that's our show. We've got our top 5s, we've got our tips, we've got our plays, our narrative, and we even broke down the Dallas Fuel a little bit in the beginning of the show. Thanks for sticking around. But for now, that's the GG, and keep it well played.